Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Youth and Women Platform. And this is your host, Sister Zeenat. So what is the purpose of this program? The purpose is we discuss about the problems and then we even discuss about the solution of youth and women. Here in a studio, we have a very special guest. She's a scholar from the United States of America. She was raised in US, she did a bachelor's in accounting, and then she had the passion to go and study Islam. At present, she's doing her master's in Islamic sciences in philosophy. Sister Maryam Muaddal. Assalamu alaikum, sister. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. We are very excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
We have been discussing in our previous episode about depressions. You know, in the last episode, we have been talking about when we have depressions, what we can do to change a lifestyle to prevent these depressions. The first point you said that have omega-3, which is found in fishes. You should have a healthy diet. You know, you took it from one of the books, you know, it says 6 ways to change your depressions and deal with your depression without having any medicines, that is the drugs, you know. And second point you said that, what was that?
The second, can I start?
Yes, please.
All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we were discussing the book, The Depression Cure, the 6 steps program to beat depression without drugs. And we mentioned a few points, and I'm just going to reiterate, just as a reminder. We talked first about omega-3 fatty acids, and we said that that specific fat helps with the brain. And if you don't have enough of that, it could cause mental illnesses. Second one was engaged activity. We said that we need to be in the present, focusing on the past or the future too much. Ruminating can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety. It could lead to excess worrying, and etc. So the third one was physical exercise. We said getting exercise, making sure you're fit. At least 3 times a week, we need at least 30 minutes of brisk walking or some type of exercise, whatever you're comfortable with, to do that and making sure that we get that exercise in. And the fourth one was sunlight exposure. And we said that sunlight exposure sets our biological clock. It regulates the energy, it regulates your sleep, it regulates your appetite, and it regulates hormone levels. And all this is based on the book that I've mentioned. And so we wanted to continue. The fifth one is social support. So social support is huge. Having a community that supports you, having friends, family who you can call up and talk to. We're human beings are social animals, as
yes.
they say in mental.
We need to socialize. We need to be with people. We cannot live on an island.
Exactly. So it's really important to have that and to be able to talk to someone, especially if everyone goes through difficulties. Everyone goes through some types of hardship. And if you have a social support group, it helps to be able to go to them and talk to them. And getting another perspective a lot of times wakes us up and we're like, well, am I being too sensitive about this, or no, is this a real issue? A lot of times it helps to have that. We're like, and I've personally have had that too, where in my life sometimes I've like been upset about something, and I tell my friend, like, do you think this is like something that I should be concerned about, or is it just me, or is it, no, this is a real issue? And a lot of times you need someone to fact check you and be like, no, this is a problem, or no, this is like just you, right? So it's really important to have that, and so that. And just getting support and also getting guidance of what to do. Also, as personally, I've always, alhamdulillah, I've been able to have teachers who guided me, both ever since I've been in Jose, and also just when I was in America, alhamdulillah, I had a teacher who would guide me and tell me what to do. I would talk to that person once a month or every once in a while, and just to make sure I'm on the right path. Like, am I doing things like, and questions always come up, right? When you're living your life, like, things will come up and you're not sure about things. And so it's really important to have that type, a teacher, a mentor. I think that's something we lack in our communities.
Yes.
We need someone to be there, not just and not just someone to give a lecture, but also someone to mentor people.
Yes.
And I think this is huge. I know in the Christian communities, they do older sister, older brother, younger brother programs where they pair up youth with an older person, and they pair them up and tell them, okay, you're going to act as an older brother to this boy or an older sister to this girl. And so they kind of have this mentorship program, and where an older person guides a younger person, and it's very helpful, right? Because if someone's gone through a lot of some of the experiences that you're just going through, they can really help you, guide you through, and hopefully guide you so that you don't make the same mistakes they have made, right?
Yes.
So it's really important, like having that friends that you can just call up with. To family, obviously, family is also a huge thing. Connecting to family so that you can be able to call them when things go wrong. It really does help. And
Yeah. You just have to be with people, socialize, make friends. There are people who are introvert, you know.
Yeah.
They are not extrovert. They don't like to make much friends because, you know, they keep thinking all the time, if I talk to this person, what would the person go out and make fun of me? You know, all kind of, maybe they had some
I don't
kind
think all
of...
introverts think that way.
No, but not all of them, but they think in that way. They are not much
necessarily.
social.
What
Yeah.
I've seen with
Yeah.
introverts, usually they still socialize, but they socialize with a few
Specifically,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. But their connections a lot of times can be deeper.
Yeah.
So they'll have like 2-3 friends, but then they have very strong bonds.
That's
and so
very good,
it's actually it's special because their bond with that person is very, very strong, and
Yeah.
so that person will be there. I remember, well, I'm an extrovert, but I remember when my brother passed away, my best friend came over that first day, and she was just, I didn't want to eat. I didn't, like, when you're in that position and you're
Yes.
grieving and
Yes.
you're going through a shock, you just don't want to eat. You don't want to sleep. You don't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
And she would spoon feed me because
Wow.
I wouldn't eat, and I
That's so
needed the energy.
adorable.
Yeah, and it's such a blessing, and to have such a friend like that. And we all need friends like that. If something, God forbid, a tragedy strikes, that person will come to you and help you. Because in a situation like that, friends act like buffer. They really make that what happened a bit easier. And so that social support system is very crucial for a human being, and to have that. And it's not just in a case of death, like in sicknesses, and when a woman's giving birth, right? She needs support. It's not easy. Her body's going through a huge change.
Transition, yeah.
The transition's hard. You're going through labor, and then you have a baby who you have to nurse around the clock. It's a hard thing. And so if you have a social support system where they'll help you, feed you, give you food, give you support, all of that really does help. And I think that's something I've seen in my own community, where people have been there when tragedies happen. Alhamdulillah, it was a blessing to see that where people would come around to that person, to the family members, and help them out and really support them. When death happens, sickness as well. Sickness is a huge thing, right? Or when someone goes through a divorce, I think they also need support. Sometimes people feel, I don't know, it's difficult. Obviously, going through
Yes.
it's difficult, and if the person has children too, the children also need support. So
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. You know, socializing helps.
definitely.
You know, make friends. If you really get a good friend, it's the biggest blessing, what you said. You
Definitely.
had a friend who came and started spoon feeding you. In the day-to-day life, you know, all the ladies, usually in COVID, where the ladies and youth and all, everyone is all by themselves. And they feel they need friends, someone who can talk to, who can come for you. You know, this is the connection that they can make. Definitely, that's nice, right?
Yeah. And then the last point is sleep. And I think this is very...
What is that?
Sleep.
Sleep. Wow.
Sleeping, obviously, enough for every person. I mean, it could be different and the number of hours of how much a person needs sleep, but sleep deprivation is it can cause mood shifts. It could cause, you won't be able to think straight when you're tired. It could lead to depression if you're constantly not sleeping on time and not enough, and also getting good quality of sleep, like sleeping, when you rest, when you wake up in the morning, are you feeling rested? So making sure your sleep as well, and it's enough so that you feel rested and you feel strong, and you can proceed to the next day and feeling good and positive, right?
Yeah, so sleep good. at
Yeah.
least like for 8 hours, don't.
Usually that's what they say.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your age and
Yeah,
depending
I
on your
know.
child, right?
I don't want to get deep into that because we are not an expert over here.
That's
Just
why
sleep better.
whatever your doctor tells you, I
Yeah.
would say that just to be safe. Let's say whatever your doctor tells you, go for that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also depending on the age, being your gender, all those things can have an effect on how many hours you need. So whatever your doctor tells you, and see what works for you as well. I think it's also something you kind of have to play around to see exactly, well, how many hours do I really need? So
So definitely keeping yourself busy and taking care of your health and fitness, socializing and having a good sleep, you will be out of depression and you will have a better life. Because of course, one day is for you, one day is against you, right? You will be, this is the saying of Imam Ali alayhi salam, who said that you're going to face the toughness of life after an ease. After toughness, there's going to be again an ease. So going to the next questions, if someone has depression, how do they handle that depression? What should do about it?
just before we jump into this question, I just
Yeah.
wanted to add, these things doesn't necessarily mean if you abide by all these things, doesn't necessarily mean that if you have depression, things will get cleared. It probably will help, but it could be a point where you need more help. So I want to make that clear, that it doesn't mean that if you just do those things, then you'll be okay. Also, just to add a few points, and this is not in the book, but eating clean, eating organic, using clean products in terms of the quality, the things that they use, their ingredients. Using those things usually can help. So those are also things to try to see.
Eat better food.
Eat better
Healthy
food, health food in general,
Yeah.
things like that. It's important to keep that in mind, because people have tried to switch the way they eat, the things that they use, the products they use, and they've seen a result. So that's the thing with depression, is you don't know where it's coming from.
Yes.
And so that's why it's a little bit tricky. You kind of have to play with it a little bit to figure out, okay, where is this depression coming from? Okay, so with that said, let's go to that question that you just asked. What should someone do with depression? It's important if someone's dealing with depression, it's important to check in with their doctor, their family doctor. At least in America, that's how it works. You have to go to your family doctor. And they should be giving you a blood test. They should be checking your vitamin D levels, your vitamin B12 levels, your omega-3 levels, all these things, because all these things, if they're not at the right point, they can lead to depression. And I'm sure there's other vitamins and minerals that can have effect on this. I mean, these are just a few that I know of, but it could be other things that lead to it. Also, gut health. One of the things that they're linking depression to is gut health. And so and there's a lot of new studies done on this. So checking for that. And if you're one of these things, the levels of, for example, your vitamin B12 level is low, there's a reason for that. You have to try to see if you can find the reason for it. Because if you know the reason, then you can address it. But if you don't know the reason, then
Yes.
you won't be able to. And I know there was a sister who had low vitamin B levels, and her doctor got it checked out, and they found out for some reason her body wasn't absorbing it. And so she had to always take vitamin B12. And that's how she was able to clear her depression. So sometimes it does go back to vitamins and minerals.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of factors that can contribute to this problem. And so definitely from a biological standpoint, you definitely need to check in with a doctor and see what your doctor says. I mean, they might put you on antidepressants. They might tell you to take certain vitamins. So just see what the doctor
One
says.
simple thing that you've heard, whenever you're having your meal, don't have it fast. Drink your food. This is what they say, drink your food. What does it mean? It means that when you're chewing, chew it so many times, chew,
Yeah.
that it can mix with your saliva, and then it can go inside just like water. For example, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, have also said, when you take food, chew it for 32 times.
Yeah.
There is a reason why he said, and now the nutritionists, the doctors are even saying that, drink your food. Chew for many times, because that is going to affect your body.
Yeah.
Everything, the proteins that you're having, the carb, the nutrition, the minerals you're having, it's going to affect your body in a way, that's even going to affect your health.
Yeah.
That's very important. Everything is connected to each other.
Yeah, definitely. There's also, your doctor might also recommend you to see a psychologist. There's different types of therapies out there to deal with depression.
Yeah.
So depending on what your doctor tells you, They might tell you, for example, cognitive behavior therapy, which is a type of therapy where they try to help you in thinking better, thinking in the right way.
Yeah.
And so your thoughts affect your behavior and your beliefs. And so when you affect those, like, it will help you to stay on, to think right and like in the correct manner. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So there's just different therapies out there, and just see. I would say also research the different methods and see what works best for you. And
So basically, the point is, you say they will help you to think in a better manner. It's just the way you think.
it can be.
You
It can
know,
be. That's what I'm saying.
it can be.
It's possible. Everyone has. Again, depression has. For each person, the reason why
Yeah.
they're depressed, it could be different reasons. That's why there's no one solution. Like this is
So
the
it's
solution.
very clear when you're thinking, everything is affect. What you watch on media, on your smartphones, is an effect on you, especially with your kids. When you're giving, something that even the cartoon which gives like subliminal messages, the movies that give subliminal message, be very careful of what you're watching, the documentaries, the newses that you're watching. Everything is going to be an effect. You need to talk to your kid. When you're sitting out with your kid and your kid is watching cartoons, and then you also turn around, you have to watch the cartoons yourself, because there should not be any wrong, messages given to the kid.
Yeah.
So, you have to talk, communicate and talk.
Yeah.
The way you think. This is what I came for. Okay.
Yeah, and to add to that, one thing I've noticed also is screen time has a negative effect. Like screen time, as in we use a lot of the usage of screens has increased so much, and that definitely has a huge effect on mental health. And it definitely, noticed it, like whenever I see people who overuse it, like are too much on their laptops, on video games or whatever, it affects their mood in a negative way typically, especially with children. Even with adults too, it gets tiring, and it really does have a negative effect on you. So maybe limit it as much as possible. I know it's hard because some people, their work is on their laptop, so it's just there's no way out of it.
But not talking about the work on the law. You're talking about if you're just spending time on the screen a lot. For example, a teenager. Every teenager has a smartphone nowadays, right? They are on Instagram, they are on Facebook. If you're spending a lot of time on Facebook or Instagram, youth would love to chat with each other because it has become a virtual world. Virtual world is also one of the reasons of depression. Because the virtual world is totally different world. I'm not a social media person. I'm not a person who's going to spend my time or spending my life putting my profiles on Facebook or Instagram. I'm not that kind of a person. You know why? Because I have been looking into the situation, the people who are on Facebook and Instagram. What do you do over there? They are trying to find happiness over there, make friends over there, try to talk, sometimes get into arguments and fight and trolling. And this is a virtual world. Every morning, the moment they wake up, the first thing they do is go on Instagram, goes on Facebook. I was like, this is the world you have made it for yourself. You're living in a fake world, actually. That's not the... I know there are advantages, few advantages, but we are discussing the disadvantages that leads to depression. You're out of your studies, you're out of doing your main jobs or your house jobs outside. You're out of thinking from the reality of life that you can give more time outside. That's why, thankfully, I'm not attached with that social media world, but definitely this message is for those youth and ladies who just are inside this world. This is leading to depression, or maybe you're trying to divert your mind from these things.
Could be. I think it's trying to be healthy about it and limiting the amount of time you spend.
Yeah, limit the time. Yeah.
Like personally, like usually if I'm trying to get work done, I usually put my phone in another room because it's distracting, because anyone can message you, someone, or you want it, and sometimes you just pick up your phone and you start scrolling and you don't stop. I usually find it so much easier of just putting it in another room and sitting down behind the laptop and getting my work done or reading books. Yeah. So that's what, I've noticed that helps a lot if you're trying to manage.
You have to manage your virtual world, that is the social media world. Exactly. So thank you so much, youth. We will be back after a short break. welcome back after a short break. So we were discussing about the depression. Now we are going to go to the next question, like how our religion Islam can help us to come out of depression.
All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So there's been studies done that show that religion does help with depression, preventing depression, or just even if someone's depressed, if they have religion, it can help. And if you think about it, religion gives you an overview of life, a different perspective in life. And that perspective affects your thoughts.
Yes.
And your thoughts affect your akhlaq, your characters, your nature, and it affects essentially your actions. So it can be a huge tool in the way your actions come out, the way your disposition comes out, the way you reflect, the way you think, the way you act, the way you respond to people. So it can have a huge effect, and definitely it can help with mental issues and just generally like depression. And we've seen it too, when someone has a religion, they tend to have more hope.
Yes.
Because they have something to cling on to.
The hope is tawakkul to Allah. The hope is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why you don't think about committing suicide. You know, that is the most important thing, because the suicide problems has increased in youth, like last time you were saying, from the age of 15 to 29.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't within Muslim communities too. It's not just with non-Muslims. So unfortunately, this happens even with Muslims.
Yeah, everyone. It happens with everyone. You know, have your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what you're saying, right? If you study even the meaning of Quran, the meaning in your language, have your headphones, you know, this is a cell phone, you know, that's a cell phone, you know, instead of, okay, yeah, go on Facebook, go on Twitter, whatever you're doing, but put a headphones, keep listening to Quran with its meaning. Allah speaks so much about how to give you strength, talks about life, and you will see your problems within the Quran and a solution. This is how I experienced, you know, when I was started to study the translation of the Quran in my language, and I ended up like listening to the entire Quran with the meaning again and again, and every time I was listening, I was understanding with a new way.
Yeah.
And then the du'as, right,
Definitely.
with the meaning.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I mean, you can see this too, when two people can be in a similar situation, yet one person acts in a different manner than another person. It could be, for example, an accident. Two people get into an accident and they, God forbid, they lose their ability to move their legs. They become handicapped. If someone has religion, they still have tawakkul Allah. They believe in Allah. They have hope. They know that life isn't just limited to this world. They know that they believe in the akhirah. They know that in the next world, Allah will also reward them for all the difficulties they've been through. You want to keep going on. That person will constantly want to continue with life when they have hope in Allah. Versus a person who doesn't believe in Allah, is an atheist. What would they look forward to? It will be very difficult if you only believe that life is only limited to these few days within the world and until death. You can work for the worldly life, but there's only so much you can get. There's only so much you can.
It's so much limited.
It's limited. I mean, even if you're a billionaire, it's still limited to a billionaire. Like, that's it. What else? You're gonna die eventually. So there's just no hope at the end of the tunnel, and that's the problem. So having your religion has a huge effect upon the psyche.
That's true, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I'm going to test you with your property, with your health, and with your children. So we cannot make any dua, they don't test me with poverty, because Allah says, I will test you with your poverty or with your finance, with your children, which is going to be like, because we love them the most, right? They are a part of our organs, part of our souls, and with your health. So if someone is being tested by, they got a cancer, or they have got handicap, they have got a COVID and they passed away, or maybe they are suffering through any kind of like illnesses, or through children they have some kind of issues. So that is definitely a test of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He said in the Holy Quran, I will not test you more than your tolerance level. That means you have that tolerance. All you have to do is that understand that devil is your open enemy. Because the whispering that we get in our brain is something like that, oh my God, you're so low, you can't do anything, you're lower than other people, go die. This is the thinking that you get from the devil. If you understand the devil, if you understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that life is going to be it's going to make us very strong, and you're going to be an example for someone. So definitely one good thing about counseling is that I have been to counseling. Not that kind of counseling that I was depressed. No, that was not a depression counseling. That was for some other reason. I wanted to go out for counseling. So when I went over there, I started talking to my counselor, and there was a lot of things that I was talking, and there was a lot of things the counselor was telling me back. And the counselor told me, come back to a counseling too, where their group of counseling is happening. You listen to so many people's stories.
Yeah.
There's a huge thing. You come to know about what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, and then you come to know that every person living by your side, all your partners, or all your neighbors, is going through some kind of issue. They have just not been through counseling. That's true.
Exactly. Want to go into the next question?
Okay. So, so what belief within our religion can help to prevent depression?
So there's different levels in terms of within Islam, like that affect us, right? The first level is our beliefs. Our beliefs have a huge effect on the psyche. So I want to kind of go into the different aspects of belief that we have within our religion that helps us with it. So the first one is believing in Allah's planning. So as we say, muqaddarat ilahi, is that there's certain things within our life that we can't control. Like, for example, this pandemic, we didn't have control over it. Earthquakes, floods, certain type of sicknesses is out of our hands. How we look, what is our skin color, who our parents are, where we were born, those things we have no control at all. And so it's really important to understand that these things are ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we don't have control over it. So in Surah Tawbah, Allah says that, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل لن يصيبنا إلا ما كتب الله لنا هو مولانا وعلى الله يتوكل المؤمنين. He said that, قل, O Muhammad, say, nothing will happen to us besides that God has decreed for us. He is our guardian. In Allah alone do the believers trust. So in this verse, Allah is saying that, O Prophet, tell them that nothing will happen to you other than Allah wills, and that He is our Mawla, He is our Mawla, He is our God, He is our guardian, and whoever we only do tawakkul, we only trust Allah. And it's important to recognize that He's the one who's played out the situation from us. He is the one who gave me this body, this figure, this skin color, these parents. And it's out of my hands. And it really does help when you recognize that someone's planned this for you, versus when you think it just happened.
As it happened, yeah.
There's a tendency to think, oh, this is not fair.
You feel much better.
You feel much better. And the way you react to things change, and you recognize that Allah has wisdom, He has hikmat. He doesn't do anything out of His wisdom, out of His hikmat. And so it makes it easier to accept it. It makes it easier when a beloved one dies to accept that, because acceptance is part of that, right? When we're going through something difficult, and you don't have any control, like for example, God forbid you get into an accident. You don't have control over it, right? If a car, God forbid, hits you, you don't have control over it. In the aftermath of it, whatever has happened, if God forbid a person becomes handicapped, they don't have control. And to accept that and recognize, well, this is what Allah wanted for me, and He's watching me to see what am I going to do, you become a bit more patient. You become more accepting of the fact that, well, this is what He wanted, therefore, and He's watching me to see watching my every move, to see how am I going to be receptive to it.
Yes, so basically, connecting the point that one of the lady I know, she lost her son. He was just like 13 years old.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to lose your son.
Yeah, definitely.
And the way the parents were going through depression, the friends were getting away instead of really, consoling them after a certain time. They were just getting away. But the thing is that the way they came out of it, they say that, okay, I lost my 13 years old. Well, look at Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
Yeah.
You know, he lost his entire family in front of his eyes. You know, there was a 6 months old Ali Asghar, and there was like Ali Akbar, who was a, you know, young man, and there was, you know, he lost his brother, he lost so many people in front of him, and still he was thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by saying that you gave it to me as a blessing, and you took it back from me as a test. You know, Allah would say in the Holy Quran, I will test you by giving it to you and by taking it back for you. You know, this is what it is, a test. So this is what she said, oh God, I know this was a test for me. That was the gift from Allah which He gave and took it back to test us. How would we behave with, you know, how will the faith be there? If few people, they leave offering salat and fasting in depression. But if you just understand this is just the test of Allah, it's going to be fine. A huge help, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen, they have like, they do the hidden camera things where like they'll hire an actor to do something and they have a hidden camera there.
Yes.
And they're trying to test people how they're going to react.
Yes, the reactions, yes.
Their reactions. And there was like this one guy who was praying in front of people and testing out the reaction, or like a hijabi woman walking through the streets of New York. They've done different things,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
yeah.
people, you start seeing how people react. Now, if you took that and you made the camera in a position where people could see it, people would react differently, right?
Yes,
because they would
exactly.
know they're being tested here.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. It's the same thing with us and with Allah. Allah's watching us. He has His cameras everywhere. We don't see His cameras.
Yeah.
And I'm talking figuratively here.
Yeah.
He's watching us. He's putting us under this test, and He's like, okay, what are you going to do? Maryam, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to make you break your bone today. Let's see how you're going to act. Today, you're going to have the stomach flu. Tomorrow, you're going to lose your breath. Whatever the scenario
Yeah.
is. And He's watching. He's like, okay, what are you going to do? And recognizing this is just like, okay. When you know there's a camera there, like, okay, like, I'll be patient. I'll wait it out. I'll try to be more mature about the situation. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so you know Allah is watching you, Allah is testing you. This is a temporary world. Everything is temporary. You know, you never know how long you're going to live. But the life you're living, you should be very thankful to God in all kind of situation and understand the plans of the devil, who's always whispering in your head. You know, because it's your open enemy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, the devil is your open enemy. He wants you to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Definitely. So depression is one of the points that you can help yourself by reading the Holy Quran, its meaning, and definitely I would say with the du'as. You know, whether every day has its own du'as and its importance, right? You have Hadith-e-Qissa, you have Du'a-e-Tawassul, you have Ziyarat-e-Ashura, Du'a-e-Nudba. You know, reading that in Arabic is good, but know the meaning, the beauty of the dua. Because the fourth Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, what is this? Sajjadiyah, right?
Sajjadiyah.
Safiya Sajjadiyah. The explanation, because we have this online. If you just go online, Google this Sajjadiyah of fourth Imam's duas book. The beautiful meaning of the duas, which is written in English, is so beautiful, is actually going to help us. Because if you think of the situation of Zainul Abidin after Karbala, just imagine, I don't think so I can imagine myself in that kind of a situation. He lost his entire family so brutally.
Yeah.
His father, his uncles, his niece, nephews, you know, and then the tragedy of Bibi Sakina, Salamullah Alaiha, in the prison.
Yeah.
And what's happening to her aunt Zainab, Salamullah Alaiha. He comes back, people are ignoring him, even after that. Stoning them, ignoring them, and he's crying, thinking of his fathers when he look at food. Is he not depressed? But the situation comes because he's Ahlul Bayt, he knows how to handle, because he believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Amen.
All what they saw is beauty in Karbala. This was the answer of Bibi Zainab Salamullah Alaiha. So this is the best example. Any kind of trouble cannot be, you know, more than the trouble that they have faced during the month, you know, during the time of Karbala, you know, on Ashura.
Yeah.
So the best example for us is Bibi Zainab Salamullah Alaiha, fourth Imam, and Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, and we should read the du'as with the meaning, because that du'as is going to be huge help for us.
Yeah, it'll affect us.
Yeah.
Inshallah. There's a verse in the Quran, it's in Surah Hadid. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسهم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها. إن ذلك على الله يسير لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم والله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. Whatever hardships you face on the earth and in your souls were written in the book before creation of the souls. This is certainly easy for God, in order that you may be not sad over matters that you fail to get, nor rejoice because of that which has been given to you. And Allah likes not prideful boasters. So this verse is talking about that no hardships on the face of the earth exist, and no problems within your soul, la fi anfusikum, like no problems, whether it be mental problems, whether it be psychological problems, any of that, it doesn't exist other than it to be in Kitab Allah, the book of Allah, meaning that it was written before even before we came to this world. Everything has been determined, right? And especially in Laylatul Qadr, right? Laylatul Qadr happens, and for the next year, it's determined what's going to happen for us, right? So we have that.
Decide our future.
Yeah, we were going to decide our future. So it's important to remember this, that Allah's ordained all of this ahead of time, not ahead of time, but ahead of our existence. I would say that I want to word this properly because it's very delicate. So, and this has all been ordained, and this is easy for Allah. And it's why? Because so that you not get too sad or not too happy, and so that you can live a balanced
life.
Yeah. So this is what the verse of the Quran is saying, and the story of Yaqub is also another story that is important. Hazrat Yaqub gets very sick, right? Yet he's so patient; he's able to deal with it. And
are you talking about Ayub, Prophet Ayub?
Ayub,
Prophet
sorry,
Ayub, yes,
Yaqub. Ayub is a prophet that gets sick, and yet he's still patient, and he's able to deal with all the tribulations.
He loses his property, his son,
exactly,
and his health. He has for 7 years, 7 months, I don't know the entire story. But still he's thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that kind of a situation when his wife used to go out, earn for the daily bread and come back living a tough life. Everyone abandoned him.
Exactly.
So the patience we can learn from him. Definitely. Thank you so much, sister,
thank you
for talking about depressions and the solutions from the Islams and from the daily life from 21st century. You know, what kind of problems we are facing in the West and in the East, and the solution we have been discussing. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me, inshallah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please keep watching this episodes, because we will be talking about more exciting topics related to youth and women. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.